This is the story of Stephanie Ingram. On August 20th, 2023, at 1:19 a.m., police responded to a residence in Aubrey, Denton County, Texas, after a report of a shooting. Upon arrival, officers found Stephanie Ingram, 30 years old, deceased from multiple gunshot wounds. Anthony Thornton, 32, was also found deceased inside the residence from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities confirmed the incident as a murder-suicide. The scene included an infant, who was unharmed and present in the home at the time of the shooting. Police described the situation as an isolated domestic incident within a dating relationship. Stephanie Ingram's death has been classified as a homicide, and Thornton's death as a suicide. The investigation determined that the firearm used in the incident was possessed by Thornton. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in. Stephanie Ingram was 30 years old at the time of her death, according to official reports. Despite her relatively young age, very little about her personal history is publicly documented. Major media outlets do not report details of her childhood, education, or occupation, leaving a substantial gap in her life story. What is known comes primarily through the Texas Council on Family Violence, TCFV. In its Honoring Texas Victims report, TCFV notes that Ingram had 4 children, and that an infant was present in the home at the time of the shooting. This fact underscores that she was a mother with significant responsibilities and a family life, although the public record does not shed light on relationships with her children or their whereabouts after the tragedy. Ingram is also memorialized by gun violence advocacy and remembrance platforms, confirming her death's inclusion in broader tracking of firearm-related domestic fatalities. While specific memorial site citations are not listed in some media reports, her recognition aligns with databases that record victims of intimate partner gun violence. However, many aspects of her life remain obscure. There are no publicly available interviews in major news outlets, no documented social media presence referenced in her coverage, and no known statements from family members or friends in the press. Additionally, there is no publicly reported history of Ingram having made prior domestic violence complaints, sought protective orders, or engaged with advocacy services in a way that made the news. The man who killed Ingram and then himself was identified by police as Anthony Thornton, 32 years old. Authorities classified his relationship with Ingram as a dating relationship, rather than marriage, suggesting they were romantically involved but not legally bound. Publicly available media reports offer very limited information about Thornton's past. There are no widely reported prior arrests, no documented history of domestic violence complaints, and no public restraining orders that have surfaced in connection with him. His criminal or legal record, at least in media coverage, appears minimal or non-existent. Regarding motive or mental health, public sources do not provide clarity. Reporters do not cite any known prior threats, suicidal ideation, or mental health treatment. There is no confirmed statement from his family, friends, or law enforcement about his psychological state in the lead-up to the incident. The weapon used was a gun, which Thornton used both to kill Ingram and then himself. Exactly how he obtained this firearm is unclear. Public reporting does not explain whether he purchased it legally, inherited it, or acquired it by other means. Despite the well-documented outcome of that night in August, significant gaps remain in the publicly available narrative. There is no detailed public record of her education, training, or employment. Her prior relationships, if any, are not documented in major media outlets. While TCFV confirms she had 4 children, reports do not provide information about their ages, beyond the infant, their living arrangements, or how they were impacted by her death. There is no public information about who is caring for her children now or what institutional or familial support they have received. His criminal history, if any, is not clearly established in publicly available sources. His mental health background, treatment history, or any signs of suicidal behavior prior to the incident are not documented in news reports. The origin of the gun used in the shooting is not publicly known. There is no reporting that can be found on whether there were prior concerns about Thornton's access to weapons. Media coverage does not mention prior 911 calls, interventions, or help seeking by Ingram. There is no public record of protective orders, restraining orders, or recorded domestic violence service engagement. Public records and reporting describe the relationship between Ingram and Thornton as a dating relationship. Law enforcement characterized the shooting as an isolated domestic incident, indicating that there was no ongoing public threat or evidence at the time of reporting that their relationship represented a broader risk to others. According to data from the Texas Council on Family Violence, TCFV, an infant was present in the home at the time of the shooting. The 2023 TCFV report specifically notes that Stephanie Ingram is survived by 4 children, and that her infant was in the residence when the incident occurred. This detail underscores the domestic nature of the event and raises questions about risk in intimate partner situations involving young children. In public-facing news reports and the TCFV documentation, there is no mention of prior 911 calls, domestic violence complaints, or protective orders filed by Ingram against Thornton. Based on the available sources, there is no record of documented intervention attempts or formal legal actions before the fatal shooting. The absence of these warning signs in public documentation suggests that, at least in official records, this relationship had not previously escalated to reported violence. There is no publicly documented evidence that Ingram sought help from domestic violence services, shelters, or advocacy groups. No public appeals for assistance or external intervention are reported in major media sources before the incident. The TCFV narrative about her case lists only the factual fatality details. It does not provide detail on any prior engagement with support services or outreach. This lack of documented support or intervention highlights a gap in the public record. The fatal incident occurred on August 20, 2023. Law enforcement sources report that both Ingram and Thornton were found dead at 1:19 a.m. at the scene. The crime took place in a private residence located in Aubrey, Denton County, Texas. When first responders arrived, they found the front door ajar, signaling an unexpected or forced entry, or possibly simply the state of disarray resulting from the incident. The bodies of both individuals were located inside the home. Stephanie Ingram. She sustained gunshot wounds to the head and neck. Anthony Thornton. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, consistent with suicide. Crucially, an unharmed infant was discovered in the home by law enforcement. The survival of the infant amid this violence underscores the domestic and family context of the event. Authorities classified the incident as an isolated domestic violence case. According to public reporting, law enforcement did not suggest any ongoing threat beyond this household, and there were no immediate indications of broader criminal activity connected to the couple. From the public record, the relationship between Ingram and Thornton appeared private, without a documented history of public complaints or systemic interventions. The fact that an infant was in the home shows that their relationship had a deeply domestic dimension, and that the risk extended beyond just the couple. The lack of documented prior calls for help or protective measures suggests that either warning signs were not externally visible or that any such signs went unreported or unrecorded. This raises important questions about the visibility of risk in intimate partner relationships, how some dynamics remain hidden, and how the absence of formal red flags does not necessarily equate to safety. The crime scene evidence, the open door, the location and manner of death, points to a sudden, lethal escalation. The timing, early morning, and the presence of an infant add gravity to the situation, suggesting that this was not a pre-planned public event, but a private act of violence that culminated in murder-suicide. Authorities classified the event as an isolated domestic incident between two people in a dating relationship. According to police statements, there was no immediate threat to the public, suggesting no wider crime spree or external suspect. The investigation into the circumstances remained ongoing in the aftermath, as first reported. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office determined that Ingram's manner of death was homicide, caused by gunshot wounds to her head and neck. Thornton's death was ruled a suicide, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Because Thornton died in the incident, there was no criminal defendant to prosecute. As a result, no trial or formal criminal case followed. Ingram's death has been memorialized on gun violence and intimate partner violence memorial platforms, such as those maintained by advocacy organizations. Her name appears on lists of victims commemorated by groups that track domestic gun violence. The Texas Council on Family Violence, TCFV, added Ingram to its Honoring Texas Victims report, which records intimate partner fatalities across the state. The 2023 report includes both a statistical analysis of lethal risk factors and individual victim narratives. There is no known court docket for this case, since the person who committed the homicide died by suicide. Despite the absence of litigation, Ingram's death contributes to the data used by advocacy groups. TCFV and other organizations use this case in their tracking of domestic gun violence trends, helping to inform prevention efforts and policy recommendations. TCFV's analysis cites recurring risk factors in fatal intimate partner violence, especially involving firearms, and calls for stronger policy or intervention mechanisms. Local and regional media reported the incident, including coverage by outlets referencing police and medical examiner findings. However, the publicly available reports are limited. They focus primarily on the basic facts of the incident, without in-depth coverage of Thornton's past, the couple's relationship history, or broader context. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.